with a 6th Final Destination film on the horizon, I hear a lot of misconception about what will and will not happen in the film. Let me set the record straight. Consider this video a bible of the production of the film and what will happen in the film and leaks from the film and all that. So yeah, sit back, let me set the record straight. Around late 2019, Final Destination 6 was rumored to follow a group of first responders living through the usual plot of the previous films. A full script based around that plot was written by Marcus Dustan, I don't know, and Patrick Melton. Despite that version of the script ultimately being cancelled, a lot of it got leaked recently, and some of the plot points have been recently explained in detail along with some of the kills. The plot is as follows. After a traumatic on-the-job experience, an EMT named Vanessa returns to her role. Upon her return, she's called to assist with a traffic-filled underground tunnel that's about to collapse. Vanessa has a premonition about that incident and manages to save a few lives, and death, comes after each of the survivors, killing them in the order they would have. You know the plot of the Final Destination movies, and so that was the plot of the cancelled version of Final Destination 6. A lot of the kills apparently involved crushing, like a lot of them, so let me just rapid fire a bunch of different kills that were going to be in this version of the film. Crushed by a falling TV at a sports bar, killed by bleachers somehow, crushed by a tree, and someone was going to get their arm cut off by revolving doors, then hit by a truck. There was also going to be a fire station explosion that leads to the character's body landing several feet away into the windshield of our lead character's car as they pull up on the scene. So, the kills weren't anything too crazy, but they seemed, a bit uninspired and a tad bit lackluster. They just seemed like if I were to type in, write me a gory horror movie into an AI generator, that's what it would come up with. There was way too much crushing in it, apparently. The twist at the end of the cancelled Final Destination film was that the tunnel collapse was caused by another biker who was also being chased by death. I don't really understand what that twist entails for the plot of the film, because the actual script wasn't leaked. It was someone on Reddit who said that they, read the script, which so means it could be fake. I really don't know. I'm going to call the cancelled version of Final Destination 6 V1. So V1 was also supposed to be an HBO Max movie, but that version of the movie was completely thrown away and changed into what we have now, which I have a lot more info on, which I'm going to be calling V2. I know a lot about V2, so let me break it down to you. First off, let's start with the plot. Just as she's about to leave home for college, 18-year-old Stephanie, I'm going to call her Stephanie, who's been having horrific nightmares about dying in an elevator accident in a tower in the 1960s, discovers that her dream is actually a premonition that happened to her grandmother Esther, who thwarted death nearly 50 years ago but is now running out of time. Stephanie eventually learns that though her grandmother thwarted death, death has been going after the would-have-been victims of that long ago catastrophe, killing them off and going after their children, one by one. Stephanie and her family realize that their bloodline is no longer safe from death, and death will take them violently and gruesomely in order unless someone like Stephanie figures out a way to stop it. This synopsis of the plot was leaked back in 2022, before they even started filming. I remember it being leaked a long time ago. I had a bunch of different tech and shit, and then it got leaked again recently when they started filming. So this synopsis is almost 100% real due to a lot of officially revealed and leaked stuff matching up with it perfectly. Like this one audition tape that I have in my possession that I'm gonna play right now.
Thanks for coming. So, in a nutshell, Esther was right. Death is coming for our family.
Well, that settles it. Insanity is genetic.
I know it sounds crazy, but just hear me out. Several years ago, Esther had a premonition that saved a lot of people.
Except it was bullshit. Howard Googled that Skyview place. There was never any record of a tower collapse.
Because Esther stopped it. These are articles that Esther sent Uncle Howard. They're all obituaries of people from Skyview. They all died in weird, messed up ways, and not only that, they died in the order they were supposed to die in the tower.
How would you know? You're psychic now? She's been dreaming about it.
Hundreds of people were supposed to die that night, but Esther stopped the disaster. And now death is coming to collect the debt. Because there were so many victims, it's taken years, decades, for death to get to them all. A lot of them had families they were never supposed to have, and death came to them too. Death eventually got to Esther. She was the last to die in the premonition. Her and a little boy. But she was prepared. She had held off death for almost 2 decades.
Jesus, are you traumatizing us? None of this shit has anything to do with us.
But it does! Don't you see? That's what Esther was trying to warn us about. Death's coming for us because we were never supposed to exist.
This actor is reading directly from the script to one of the casting directors who was also reading from the script. Now, if you notice, she said Esther, the name Esther, and talked about an elevator, along with her bloodline and her family members being chased by death. This matches up perfectly with the description and the synopsis that we got of the film. Now, before we get into any unconfirmed speculation about what will happen in the movie, let me tell you what has been officially revealed to the public from the studio directly. The directors will be Zach Livovisky, I don't fucking know how to pronounce his name, Zach Livovisky and Adam B. Stein. The director of photography will be Christian Sebald? What's up with these names? I can't pronounce these names. The cast was fully announced in March of 2024. Filming began on March 4th of that same month and ended on May 6th. It will be the second ever horror film to be released in IMAX. Speaking of the release date, it will be around March of 2025 due to that being the 25th anniversary of the first film and post-production ending around that time. And also, Tony Todd will indeed be returning. Now let's get into the more unconfirmed and speculative talk about the movie. 2 actors finished filming before the rest of them, which means that they most likely die early on in the film. One of those actors was seen wearing a shirt that reads the year 1994, which very well could mean that the film is another prequel that takes place a few years before Final Destination 5. Now, since filming wrapped over a month ago and the Final franchise is known for having a very high amount of special effects for a slasher, I think that we should get a trailer around the holiday season of this year, with the movie coming out the early of next. So essentially what I'm saying here is expect a trailer around Halloween or Thanksgiving, maybe even Christmas, but I think that's too late. Maybe around Halloween, Thanksgiving, maybe even September of 2024, and then expect the movie in January, February, March, in like the first couple months of 2025. It's very possible that we might get a teaser trailer around Halloween or sometime soon, but I really doubt it because it's a little too early to begin promoting the film. Also, in one of the behind the scenes photos, they were shooting on a soundstage, I think. It kind of looks like a soundstage, which means that we might have like houses blowing up and shit, so maybe expect explosions. I'm not entirely certain. So yeah, that's pretty much it regarding Final Destination 6. So let me break it down in a small little contained package. So essentially the movie finished filming months ago. Tony Todd is returning. You already know the people that are working on it, and it's coming out around early of 2025. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, as to why the original version of Final Destination 6, I'm gonna call it V1, like I said before. Now, as to why V1 was canceled is entirely beyond me. I think it was because of what happened with the pandemic, and I think the pandemic really slogged down the production, and they wanted a new script, or maybe there was some controversy. I'm not entirely certain why. The original script for Final Destination 6 with the EMT and the firefighter and the cop, I don't know why that was scrapped, but I've heard that the script wasn't that good, so maybe that's the reason why they scrapped it. I'm not entirely certain, but I think the reason was because of the pandemic, and they wanted to get like a fresh start on the movie, and so they created this new plot with the whole family members, and that's why it's being called Final Destination Bloodlines instead of just Final Destination 6. So yeah. It's not going to be an HBO Max movie anymore. It's releasing in IMAX in theaters, which is fucking rad. So yeah, that's all I have now regarding Final Destination 6. Peace out.